66 million years ago, our planet was a world both familiar and utterly alien, a time at the end of the Cretaceous period when the Earth teemed with life, diversity, and grandeur. Imagine a landscape where the ruling giants were not mammals, but dinosaurs, and where the air and seas shimmered with creatures that have long since vanished from the modern world. In these ancient days, every continent, every forest, and every sea was alive with forms both strange and spectacular. On land, dinosaurs reigned supreme. Towering above the plains and forests, the Tyrannosaurus rex prowled the lush floodplains of what is now North America. With its massive jaws, serrated teeth, and powerful legs, the T-Rex was the apex predator of its time, feared by all and rivaled by none. Its keen senses and formidable bite meant that few dared challenge its dominance. Yet, it was not alone. Sharing its world were great herds of Triceratops, lumbering plant eaters marked by their 3 sharp horns and broad, bony frill. These creatures moved in groups, grazing on the abundant vegetation, using their horns for defense and display. Across river valleys and woodlands, the hadrosaurs, commonly known as duck-billed dinosaurs, ranged by the hundreds. These social animals, some stretching longer than a city bus, could walk on all fours or rear up on their hind legs to reach higher branches. Their crested heads and broad beaks allowed them to feed efficiently, and their fossils suggest that they, too, were prey for hungry predators. Elsewhere, the armored ankylosaurs trundled through the underbrush, their backs protected by heavy plates and clubbed tails. Their low, squat bodies made them tough opponents for any would-be attacker. Nearby, the pachycephalosaurs, dinosaurs with thick, domed skulls, may have head-butted each other in dramatic contests for dominance or territory. Their strange cranial architecture, a testament to the wild experimentation of evolution. But the world of the late Cretaceous was not just about dinosaurs. The plant life of this era was undergoing a revolution. Flowering plants, or angiosperms, had spread across the continents, their blooms attracting primitive insects and providing new food sources for herbivorous dinosaurs. These plants were rapidly replacing the more ancient ferns and cycads, which had dominated earlier periods. The forests were lush with conifers, palms, and towering tree ferns, creating dense canopies and rich understories where countless creatures could hide, feed, and thrive. Grasses, though still rare, had just begun to appear, tiny green shoots hinting at the future dominance of grasslands in the eons to come. Look up, and the skies were filled with pterosaurs, the magnificent flying reptiles whose wingspans could reach over 30 feet. These masters of the air soared above the forests and coastlines, some hunting fish in the rivers below, others scavenging or catching insects. Their delicate bones and membranous wings made them agile and efficient flyers, dominating the aerial realm in a way unmatched until the rise of birds millions of years later. The seas of the Cretaceous were no less impressive. Giant marine reptiles, like Mosasaurs and Plesiosaurs, patrolled the warm, shallow oceans. Mosasaurs, with their elongated bodies and powerful tails, were the terror of the Cretaceous seas, preying on anything from fish to other marine reptiles. Plesiosaurs, some with long necks and small heads, glided gracefully through the water, using their 4 flippers in a manner unlike any modern animal. Alongside these giants, ancient turtles, crocodiles, and lizards swam and hunted, their lineage robust enough to survive the coming cataclysm. Beneath the waves, coral reefs flourished, providing shelter and food for a dizzying array of marine life. Ammonites, with their beautiful spiraled shells, drifted in the currents, their tentacles reaching for plankton and small prey. These creatures, relatives of modern squids and octopuses, were incredibly diverse, their shells coming in all shapes and sizes, from tiny coils to dinner plate-sized spirals. Sharks, too, prowled these ancient oceans, their sleek forms little changed from their ancestors and descendants, ever the efficient predators. On land, mammals were present, but they lived in the shadows. These early mammals were small, mostly nocturnal creatures, mouse-like insectivores and omnivores who scurried through the underbrush, hiding from the ever-watchful eyes of dinosaurs. Their lives were precarious but resilient. Their ability to adapt and survive in the margins of the ecosystem would prove crucial in the aftermath of what was to come. The food web was intricate and interconnected. Plankton, microscopic organisms floating in the sunlit layers of the ocean, formed the base of the marine food chain. They sustained everything from tiny fish to the largest marine reptiles, their populations diverse and abundant. This unseen world of drifting life was as vital to the health of the planet as the mighty dinosaurs roaming above. Yet, for all its vitality and abundance, this world was not eternal. The closing act of the Cretaceous would be written not by the slow hand of evolution, but by sudden, catastrophic violence. Around 66 million years ago, in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, a 10-kilometer-wide asteroid hurtled toward Earth. In an instant, it struck with the force of more than 1 billion atomic bombs, gouging a vast crater and unleashing a chain of events that would change life forever. The impact vaporized rock and sent a shockwave of fire and molten debris across the planet. Forests ignited, and wildfires raged for thousands of miles. The skies darkened as dust and soot rose high into the atmosphere, blocking sunlight and plunging the world into a long, cold darkness. Temperatures plummeted, photosynthesis faltered, and the intricate web of life began to unravel. For months, perhaps years, sunlight barely reached the surface. Plants died, and with them, the great herbivores that had fed upon them. The carnivores that depended on the herbivores soon followed, their populations collapsing. In the oceans, plankton populations crashed, and the food chain crumbled. Ammonites, which had thrived for hundreds of millions of years, disappeared forever. The once mighty Mosasaurs and Plesiosaurs vanished, victims of a cascading extinction that swept through the marine world. On land, the losses were just as severe. All non-avian dinosaurs, every Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, and Hadrosaur, perished in the aftermath. The world's dominant life forms were gone. Their reign ended in the blink of an eye. In total, about 75% of all species on Earth vanished in the wake of the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, their legacy preserved only in the rocks and fossils they left behind. Yet, even in this darkest hour, life endured. Some lineages survived the devastation. Among the victors were the ancestors of modern birds, the only dinosaurs to make it through the mass extinction. Crocodiles, turtles, and small lizards managed to weather the storm in aquatic or burrowed refuges. Mammals, those once tiny creatures of the night, emerged into a world transformed. A world where the great reptiles no longer ruled, and where new opportunities beckoned. In the silence that followed the catastrophe, the survivors began to diversify and radiate. Mammals, freed from their dinosaur overlords, would slowly evolve into the myriad forms that fill our world today, from bats and whales to elephants and primates. The forests would recover, and the flowering plants, now dominant, would shape new ecosystems. Grasslands would spread, and with them, new waves of herbivores and predators. The legacy of the Cretaceous, and of the cataclysm that ended it, would echo through the ages, shaping the history of life on Earth. As we look back across the vast gulf of time, the world of the late Cretaceous stands as a testament to the resilience and fragility of life. It was a time of giants and wonders, of strange plants and fearsome predators, of thriving ecosystems and sudden, dramatic change. Though the age of dinosaurs ended in fire and darkness, it laid the foundation for the world we know today, a world where the echoes of that lost era can still be heard in the song of a bird, the bloom of a flower, and the fossils buried deep beneath our feet. The story of life on Earth 66 million years ago is a story of triumph and tragedy, of incredible diversity and sudden loss. It reminds us that our planet is ever-changing, shaped by forces both gradual and cataclysmic. And it asks us to remember that every moment of life, every creature, great or small, is part of a legacy stretching back to a time when dinosaurs ruled the Earth, and when, in a single moment, the world was forever changed.